Well, hey, good day to you. This is Todd. I'm a regular dude walking in the Word. Today we are concluding chapter 28 of Exodus, and we're really concluding the rest of the garments that you will see that the priest wears. So I have some pictures behind me of the priests, but today I have another picture here. Too. Today we'll be talking about, I don't know if you can see that real good, maybe on this side. Okay, that's better, I think. The blue garment that was worn underneath the ephod, and so we're talking about that, and it has bells on it and pomegranates on the bottom here, so you can see that those hanging down. Then there's a white linen robe that's worn. There's white linen underwear, and then there's this turban too that he wears too. Okay, so we're talking about all those things and the significance of all those things. So today it's entitled "The Priestly Garments," Part 3, and it's the blue robe and the white linen garments, and it's taken from Exodus 28, verses 31 to 43. So you can turn in your Bibles, get your spectacles on, and let's read here. It says, "You are to make the robe of the ephod entirely of blue yarn. There should be an opening at its top in the center of it. Around the opening there should be a woven collar with an opening like that of a body armor, so that it does not tear." So you're basically like putting that, seaming that up, so that it wasn't just rough edges. It was a nice edge, and it's less likely to tear if you do that to it. So you had that, and notice it was blue also. And so that it does not tear. Make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet yarns on its lower hem all around it. Put gold bells between them all the way around, so that the gold bells and the pomegranates alternate around the lower hem of the robe. The robe will be worn by Aaron whenever he ministers, and its sound will be heard when he enters the sanctuary before the Lord, and when he exits, so that he does not die. Verse 36, "You are to make a pure gold medallion and engrave it like the engraving of a seal, holy to the Lord. Fasten it to the cord of blue yarn, so that it can be placed on the turban. The medallion is to be on the front of the turban." So that's, right here on the front of the turban, you had this gold medallion that was placed on there, and it said, "Holy to the Lord." All right. "It will be on Aaron's forehead, so that Aaron may bear the guilt connected with the holy offerings that the Israelites consecrate as all their holy gifts. It will always be on his forehead, so that they may find acceptance with the Lord." Okay. Again, symbolize the gold it's made with, symbolizing God. All right. In divinity. Verse 39, "You are to weave the tunic from the fine linen, make a turban of fine linen, and make an embroidered sash." Okay, so you had this linen garment underneath everything, but then you also had this linen sash that kind of tied everything together. "Make tunics, sashes, and headbands for Aaron's sons to give them glory and beauty. Put these on your brother Aaron and his sons, then anoint and ordain and consecrate them, so that they may serve me as priests. Make them linen undergarments to cover their naked bodies, that they may extend from the waist to the thighs. This must be worn by Aaron and his sons whenever they enter the tent of meeting or approach the altar to minister in the sanctuary area, so that they do not incur guilt and die. This is to be a permanent statute for Aaron and his future descendants." Okay? So again, we're talking about these several pieces of garments here. We're talking about this blue robe. Okay, the blue robe, we've talked about it before. The blue robe represents the skies, so it represents God in the heavens is really, because you look up to the heavens and the skies. So that's what that's representing. The significant thing about this robe, though, it has attached to it all of these pomegranates and all these the bells attached to it. Well, the pomegranates were to symbolize the fruitfulness of God. That's basically it. And you notice they were in different colors too. And we've talked about the colors and the significance of those colors already. So those colors were in there with the pomegranates. But there was something else in between all those pomegranates there. You had bells attached to it. And it said there in the passage we read, so that Aaron doesn't die. Well, the realistic thing was those bells were attached, and every time, whenever you walk around, you're hearing those bells ring-a-ding-a-ling, all right? So when Aaron goes into the Holy of Holies, for the once-a-year ceremony, he's walking around. And what they did is this. They actually tied a rope around his leg so that if they stopped hearing bells ringing, they were like, uh-oh, God must have struck him dead. And then they could drag him out rather than going into there to get the dead body out and them also being killed. So you weren't supposed to go into the Holy of Holies unless you were prescribed to do so, and Aaron was prescribed to do that. But it was kind of a safety thing that when he was moving around, you heard those bells ringing. So that's the purpose of those bells for that. So we got the bells and everything covered there in that blue garment. The white garments that we talked about, it represents, the purity of God, and white represents, of course, the purity of God. And basically, when you look at Jesus, how pure he is, because he doesn't have any sin. All right. And then that tunic was made also of white. And so, again, that represents God being, or Jesus being pure white. And then it had that gold plate on it also, which we've talked about that already. The other things it talks about is the sash made of white, and then the undergarments also made of white linen. So all these things that are shown here as we conclude it's all pointing to Jesus. All right, and we've talked about it in the past that everything in the tabernacle is pointing to Jesus, but then everything that the priest is wearing is also pointing to Jesus too. It all had significance. And this also, the priest dressed this way. No one else dressed this way. And it was a lot of stuff and symbolic stuff that he was wearing, which no one else wore. The purpose was it set him apart. Okay, so he came walking down the road. Well, here comes Aaron the priest, because he's dressed like that. So it set him apart. All right. So that concludes chapter 28. I want you to join us as we continue on with chapter 29 tomorrow. And we're getting into, now there's a ceremony of how these priests are to be consecrated. Thanks for watching. I'm a regular dude walking in the Word, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as we continue looking at Exodus. Lord's blessing. I'll see you then.